Well, here we are again. We are just about at the end of this course. Have you enjoyed it? I understand it has been tough, but if you are like me, then you will thrive on a challenge. When we finish the course, I can almost guarantee you will be feeling like you have worked really hard and that effort has paid off. Today, we're going to have a second look at academic writing. There isn't a lot of new stuff, but just a couple of extra details about data. However, the example passage this week is going to blow you away. It's a tough one. Let's get into it. Like this slide, a lot of what we see in this video is going to be similar to last week. Still, keep on going through it with me as a bit of a review. Now, if you don't know by now everything that is on this slide and what they all mean, you might have to consider taking the course again next year. But seriously, if there is anything that you are not sure about, go back and have a look at previous videos in this series. Last week, we talked about academic writing, which followed this basic kind of structure. We're going to look at a similar article, but with a few more details in the results and discussion section. I've used a few extra ways of analyzing data, such as M, which shows the average, P, which shows if there is a statistical difference between the two groups, and COVA, which is a way of analyzing and comparing data, and 95% CI, which are the 95% confidence intervals and give a wider range around the average. Now, I don't expect you to know all of these, of course, but I would like you to make sure you use the average when you write your article this week. Let's have a look at the article. Goodness me, 3 pages? As you look at more academic articles, you will find that 10 pages is actually a pretty short paper. It is common to find articles up to 30 pages or more. This week's article is based on a paper I had published a few years ago. Again, we are just looking at this to see the structure at work. I expect you to read through it, but I don't want you to worry too much if you don't get the meaning of some places, especially around the data analysis. The introduction here follows our usual pattern. Background information first, followed by thesis statement. The balance is probably a little off. It isn't the usual 80-20 I look for when I read and write papers. See if you can do a better job. In the literature review, I've cited one paper, which you should find in the reference list at the end. In a regular paper, there would be many more, of course. Whenever I write a paper, I try to aim for 25 to 30 references in the article. Of course, this does depend on the length of the paper though. In this section, if you remember from last week, we want to be describing how we conducted the study. It should include some basic information about the participants and how the data was collected. At the end, you'll see SPSS version 23. This is a piece of statistical software. It isn't cheap, but if you decide to do research in the future and analyze some data, it is essential for you to have this kind of software. So here is the results and discussion section. As you can see, there is a lot of information in the table. Remember, I would like you to use the average, shown as M in italics here, in your own article this week. As for the other ones, you don't need to worry too much about them at this stage. If you know what they mean though, it will help you understand academic papers more easily. For example, by seeing that P is less than 0.05, I can be confident in saying that there is in fact a large difference between the two groups at the beginning of the study. Also, the 95% confidence intervals, or 95% CI, show me that there were no overlaps of score between the two groups at the end of the study. That is, the lower score for the flipped group, 13.20, is higher than the higher score for the traditional group, 12.04. So this makes my argument that flipped learning is better even stronger. Now, as interesting as all those data are, the most important part is the discussion. Having a good deep chat about why you were able to come about those results is what makes for a powerful paper and argument. When you write your paper, spend a little extra time on that part. Finally, we have the conclusion. Again, we see a brief summary of the main point, followed by some pointers for the future. Remember, someone should be able to just look at our introduction and conclusion and get a general idea of what our paper is all about. If they want to learn more, then they can get into the meatiest part, the body. Here are the references. You should always check that everything you cited in the paper is in the reference list, and that everything in the reference list is indeed in the paper. Also, you don't want to make an embarrassing mistake like putting the author's names in the wrong order alphabetically. It's a basic thing to do, so make sure you check that. Okay, your turn. I'd like you to have another go at doing a simple research. This time, I'd like you to get data from just 10 people. There are 3 questions to choose from, all related to this flipped class. Remember, you don't have to worry about those difficult ways of analyzing the data, but I would like you to include the averages. Well, that is it for this week. It has been a bit of a journey, but you've got here. Be prepared for class with your vocabulary and composition up to scratch, and I'll see you there.